Welcome into Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. Got a lot going on right now with the 76ers, especially when we talk about Joel Embiid's epic January. We'll get into that run for Joel Embiid as well as to whether or not he can keep it going as well on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And we thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Keith Pompey, your beat writer for the 76ers for Inquirer.com. Marc Farzetta with you, veteran sports talker with you in the city of brotherly love. Radio, TV, it's been a good ride. When we talk about the 76ers today, Keith, we're going to talk about hosting the Sacramento Kings tonight, the status of the Stars tonight, as well as Giannis Antetokounmpo's list being reported by ESPN Shams Charania. We'll get into that, and Joel Embiid's epic run. Let's start it right here with Joel Embiid's month of January, because looking at it right now, January 29th, probable for tonight's game, you're looking at this January run from Joel Embiid, Keith, 28 points per game, little over 28 points per game. That's the most he's averaged this season by a nice majority here. Previously, it was 25.9 points per game in December, but only 7 games played. He's played 12 games in the month of January, and he is averaging 8.4 rebounds, season high, 4.3 assists, season high, and he's also coming up with those 28.3 points per game. And then you look at the last 10 games that he has played in, averaging over 30 points per game right there. The question here is whether or not it's sustainable for Joel Embiid to do this and then for the Sixers to keep winning while he's doing this.
Yeah, that's the big question. But, even so, like I do think that, when we look at Joel, we're talking about the whole month of January, but when you look at the past 4 games, he's averaging 34.2 points, and his lowest output was the last game that they played when he had 29. I do think that it is sustainable on the offensive end. You know what I mean? Like I do believe that if he stays healthy, he's going to continue to put up these numbers. He's moving well. Just the major issue when we talk about sustainable is like, is he going to get re-injured? Like every time he falls down, people are going to be a little leery. But as far as he's playing, yeah. I mean, here you go. The difference between now and early on is early on, Joel was struggling mightily from shooting threes. Over the last 4 games, Joel has been, or actually last 5 games, Joel has been shooting 50% from 3. And that's where he's averaging the 32.4 points, along with the 9.8 rebounds, right? So to me, it's like if Joel continues to move the ball, continues to grab rebounds, and shoot at the rate that he's shooting, he can sustain it as long as he's healthy.
Mm-hmm. Now, I noticed something there, Keith. Offensively. These are, again, the numbers offensively. And we've seen him be explosive. I've used that word throughout the week when we talk about how he has played this season. We've seen the efficiency. That's come back. We've seen the three-point shooting and all that. Defensively, how has he looked to you? Because I'll say that, and I'll obviously defer to you on this. Defensively, the feet look heavy. The legs look a little slow. Defensively has not really been there. What's your assessment on the defensive side of things for Joel Embiid?
I have to agree with you. It's because it's weird because when you look at the alley-oop that he had and you looked at when the game before that, when he ran down the lane and they dished him the ball and he had the one-handed dunk, the elevation there looked pretty good. But on the defensive end, I guess it's the reaction time, whatever. He just doesn't seem like he can get up and is as effective on the defensive end. It's to a point where you look at guys who are just basically attacking the rim and getting dunks on them left and right. Now, you do have to appreciate the effort, but it just seems like his elevation isn't there on the defensive end. But as of late, it looks like it's been there on offense, right? So yeah. I think that's a little bit of reaction. He just has to, in a way, to me, that's a little bit of a good sign, the fact that he could do it offensively, because that's telling me that once he gets his reaction up to speed, he should be fine.
Yeah, it's like the physical factor that has been checked off, whether or not he could do it physically.
Yeah.
Then defensively, it's whether or not he knows when to do it. It's like you use the word reaction, and that's all defense is. You're reacting to what somebody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
You try to dictate what they do. That's good defense. Maybe Joel Embiid will get there at some point this season. But the fact that you know physically he can do it, and what we talked about yesterday was trusting the injury, trusting the knee. All that's going to come in time. It looks like offensively it has gotten there, and now it's whether or not defensively he could trust it to be just as explosive on the defensive end of the court.
Yeah, exactly. Now, again, I'm not going out there to say that Joel is going to go back to be a rim protector or anything like that. Right. But at the same time, I do feel like I just don't feel as bad because here, let's be honest. In the beginning of the season, he couldn't move at all. He looked like he was washed, right? He just looked bad. Now, at least he's in there attempting things. And let's face it, that's what the Dembona is here for. Like the 76ers are talking about, they have this lineup that they want to unveil where they got to go with the Twin Towers, so to speak. A Dembona can be in one of the things. And Joel does other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about Dembona's game. Really, also why I don't want to see the Sixers do any salary dump. I want to see them keep the depth that they have at the center position. I don't even want Andre Drummond traded. I don't know what you're going to get for him anyway. But the idea of Bona and Drummond coming off the bench for Joel Embiid, I think is great. The idea of a Dembona being on the floor at the same time as Joel Embiid is also great, especially when you talk about finding that explosiveness on the defensive side of things, because Bona certainly has that down. But when you just talk about Joel Embiid, I think the vast majority of people are very pleasantly surprised to see where he is at offensively speaking. Now it's time to see him take that next step, because I do believe absolutely what we have seen from him, 28 points, the 33 points, 34 points he's averaged recently, that is all sustainable for him, with the overall caveat that we always throw in with Joel Embiid, and it matters obviously, is the injury bug. But defensively, it's a matter of whether or not he can get to the level that he's at offensively and the same level he was at years ago when it comes to that explosiveness defensively, when it comes to being able to protect the rim, when it comes to being able to stay with guys that are going down on the block. Because one of the things that was so telling about that Rockets game was how physical he was on the offensive side of things against Şengün, for instance. Şengün. Being that physical offensively, I very much look forward to seeing that physical aspect of his game return on the defensive end of things, because that's when I think you can really start talking about Joel Embiid getting back to the form, Keith, that we saw him in his prime years. That's the way that I look at it, and we're having a little tech issue, unfortunately. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. We're going to tell you about some great sponsors that we have, and we're going to get to the Giannis Antetokounmpo list here that has come out via ESPN. We'll get to that, and also two 76ers being honored by a national publication. All that and more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers. And right now, it's time to tell you about TurboTax. I certainly hope you guys are taking advantage on TurboTax and all they have to offer right now, especially with it, of course, being tax season. TurboTax is helping you out with all that because you want your taxes taken care of by an expert. And it's also nice to have it done locally as well. TurboTax making it easier than ever to just hand things over to a professional, to an expert. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local tax expert from TurboTax in person or also connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you early deductions. You can also upload your documents and go about your day and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, and it gives you real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can also get your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. That's TurboTax.com/local. TurboTax.com/local. And how about the Everydayer Club? You've heard us talking about it. Well, how about we get ready for the NBA trade deadline coming up in a week, February 5th. The NBA trade deadline, it's basically here. We want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with all the chaos going on, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord for Sixers fans and Locked On 76ers fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. Just get an ad-free version of the show, by the way, with the Locked On 76ers Everydayer Club membership. LockedOn76ers.supercast.com to become a member. If you sign up by the trade deadline, February 5th, you can use DEADLINE as your promo code. Code DEADLINE to get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes below to learn more about the Everydayer Club and how you can get 1 month free. Keith Pompey, it's looking like the 76ers not on Giannis Antetokounmpo's short list of places he'd like to go. Right now, ESPN is reporting that Giannis Antetokounmpo would like to go to the Miami Heat, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the New York Knicks, and the Golden State Warriors. Here's where I'll start with you. Do the Sixers have anything that they could trade to get Giannis Antetokounmpo?
No. I mean, here's the thing. Well, you have two young assets that you could lump into it. I'm talking about Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. But why would you want to get rid of those two? You know,
Exactly.
when you look at Paul George's contract, he makes around the same money as Giannis Antetokounmpo. But at this particular stage, you can argue that is a negative contract, meaning, you know, he's not going to live up to, you know, the 50-something million dollars. So basically, in order to get rid of that, you have to give up some other assets. And not only that, he still has 2 years on that contract after this season. So, no, the 76ers do not have what is needed to go out there and get Giannis, especially considering the teams that they're talking about. You know, I'm pretty sure what he's saying is, you know, there are certain guys out there that he would love to play with, but you know, you got Tyler Hero, you got Bam Adebayo that you could possibly give up for Miami. You know, Minnesota, I'm pretty sure he would want to play with Ant-Man. So there are some other guys that you could get rid of, you know, more so better assets than what the 76ers have right now. And if you're the Sixers, you are not getting rid of those two guys, Tyrese Maxey or VJ Edgecombe, to lump into a deal.
I know it's talked about, obviously not both of them, but VJ, would you, or do you, I'm not even going to ask if you would do it, but do you think the Sixers would dangle VJ out there as part of a package?
I don't think so. No, I just don't. Because I feel like, you know, when we look at VJ Edgecombe and you look at Tyrese Maxey, especially VJ, it's one of those things where the Sixers right now, their championship window with this group is about to close. So what do you have to do is you have VJ and you have Tyrese, and then you want to build on to that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, why are you going to get rid of that for Giannis? And, you know, I just, unless you're 100% sure that you can win a championship and you could care less about what's going to happen in future seasons, you know, you don't do it. But when you're talking about a team that's about to move into a new building in a couple of years, and you have arguably the best young backcourt in the league, at least the most explosive, most exciting one, in VJ and Tyrese Maxey, I don't think you break those two up for a chance of maybe winning a title. You know what I mean? Like I don't
100%. I know what you mean. Now, the Heat and the Knicks are the two teams here, of course, in the Eastern Conference that I would very much not like Giannis Antetokounmpo to go to. The Heat, okay. I feel like they would have to get worse in order to add Giannis. The Knicks are the team that is most concerning to me. I mean, all these teams, they essentially have that number 2 guy that Giannis could, you know, gel with, or number 1 guy that Giannis could gel with. But the Knicks, seeing possibly Jalen Brunson and Giannis Antetokounmpo running the floor together, that to me, of the package, is the most concerning. Again, when you talk about the Heat, the Wolves, the Knicks, and the Warriors, what team would be the most concerning to you when it comes to a threat to the Sixers?
Um, I would think the Knicks right about now, depending on what the Knicks have to give up, right?
Mhm.
Depending on what they have to give up. But the thing is, it just seems like, Giannis with Brunson would be a great pairing. But if you're telling me you had to give up like OG or Mikal Bridges, I may be a little bit just because you need some perimeter defenders and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But the name that comes up is like Josh Hart, who was a rebounder. But when we look at Josh Hart, he excels at most times as an undersized power forward when they go that way. So I feel like the Knicks would probably be the team that would be the most concerning to me because the other teams, I feel like
Mhm.
if they give up somebody, it's going to. I'm not saying it's a lateral move because Giannis is a great player, top 5,
Yeah,
but I
no,
feel
I
like
agree. I know what you're
they
saying. I
would
feel
have
the
to
same
give
way.
up. They would have to give up too much to get him
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
sustain where they are.
yeah, the Knicks. Look, you look at the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are the team that is most concerning if Giannis goes there because they have an instant way to make it work and be better. Where the Heat, yeah, I feel like they'd be just as much of a threat if Giannis went there, based on what they'd have to give up to get him. So the only team that really concerns me here is the Knicks because you got to get through them, obviously, to get out of the Eastern Conference. The Warriors, all right. The T-Wolves, all right. But the Knicks are the team that certainly sticks out to me. Now, speaking of that young backcourt that you mentioned a second ago, I look, Slam Magazine, man, awesome. Fantastic. Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe grace the cover, Keith, of Slam Magazine. I thought about you when these two made the cover, mostly because of Tyrese Maxey, because I remember about a month or so ago, we talked about marketability when it comes to the Sixers, still being a major market, still being a great franchise name, and Tyrese Maxey being that very marketable guy. And now you got two guys in VJ with that $1 million smile and incredible athleticism. You got both these guys in the cover of Slam Magazine. They did a great interview. It was a fun interview with Slam Magazine and all that stuff. But you talked about marketability. You got two guys here that seem to be getting a lot of attention nationally speaking. Maxey, of course, starter in the All-Star game, VJ in the Rising Stars game.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I feel like the 76ers would be foolish to break that up, right? Because you think about it, the last time we had the guys who graced the cover were when it was the Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, JJ Redick, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. And we were under the impression that this was going to be a team for at least the next 2 years, right? And they broke it up. They got rid of JJ, they got rid of Jimmy Butler. So now the team, like to me, that has been the best Sixers team that they had right there.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
now we're looking at it, and you got these two young guards who are only going to get better, right? So you just can't get rid of it. And Slam Magazine, think about it. For basketball, of all magazines, you want to be on the cover of Slam because that's saying something. So yeah, it was an impressive feat by him, but it also says, Nick, you got to get VJ going a little bit more, man. Like he's on the cover of Slam Magazine. He needs a little bit more plays ran for him.
Here's what I'll say about VJ. His last game, where I think it was 12 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. That to me is, even though it's not him being a star in terms of points and getting the sexiest stat of all, points. You talking about a game there where you had Paul George cooking, Joel Embiid cooking, Tyrese Maxey still got you 22, and VJ did everything else, including still getting double digits in points, which isn't nothing, but it's not, a 25-point game, 30-point game. That to me is kind of the recipe for success when it comes to this team. Joel Embiid, look, I'm not looking at Paul George to get you 32 points every night. All right, that ain't going to happen. I'm not looking for him to hit 9 threes every game. But if VJ Edgecombe can kind of sustain what he did in that game against the Bucks, if he can do that and then at times take his turn being the 25-point scorer, the 30-point scorer, the 5 for 6 from 3 type of shooter, that to me is kind of, if he could take his turn with PG, Kelly Oubre as kind of the non-Maxey, not Embiid third scorer, I think, and have the normal success that he had against the Bucks, I think that's a great spot for him. in this rotation. Do you not?
Yeah, I think it's a good spot for him, but it's also a catch-22 because you want him to evolve to be that guy. Like, I'll be honest with you, of all the guys on the floor, after what he's done, and how clutch he is, I want him to be the closer. Like, in my opinion, and I know he's a rookie and this and that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, what he did, that shot, it was a huge shot that he made against the Memphis Grizzlies. But we all talk about Tyrese Maxey's chase down block against the Warriors. But VJ Edgecombe was the guy who had the game-winning basket, right before that. So with that being said, yeah, it's like it is some patience, but you also have to realize, like, right now you're trying to win. So for now, what you're saying is correct. You're trying to win with what you have, but moving forward, you got to get this guy to ascend. He has to be a little bit more consistent on the offensive end, and because he's bringing everything else, because it's going to be vital for the 76ers success for him and Maxey to excel. So I get what you're saying, and I believe me, for right now, it is what it is. But if the 76ers were like struggling a little bit more, it would be like, yo, dude, you got to get your shots up. I got to see what you can do because we're building for the future. But I do think he could be the one. I think he could be the one, man.
I hope so. I'd like, obviously, for that to be Tyrese this year at least. But, yeah, maybe next year VJ becomes that guy. I'd certainly love to see – I'd love to have some options.
What I mean by the one is, like, Tyrese is going to be Tyrese. Like, I think Tyrese is going to be the guy who's going to score all these points. He's going to be an all-star, this and that. But that VJ has that clutch gene, right? So what you need is, and when we look at the Sixers, no offense to Tyrese, no offense to Joel Embiid, but VJ is the guy. Like, Joel's taken a lot of game-winning potential shots. They always didn't go the way that he wanted to, a lot of them, right? The same thing with Maxey. Guys tend to trap him, this and that. He doesn't really convert a lot of them. You got to a point, that's why they had Quentin Grimes trying to take it. But then next thing you know, VJ is like, what about me? What about me? And then he converts. So to me, that's not a knock on anybody else. It's kind of like, yeah, you're all going to be all-stars. You're all going to be elite players. But it's just one guy that is built for that moment. And I just think it could be VJ Edgecombe.
Fair enough. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Sacramento Kings tonight, coming in 12 wins on the season. Talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers and Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. And how about Rocket Money, ladies and gentlemen? Rocket Money. You guys need to take advantage. Rocket Money's got you covered. Rocket Money has you covered just as you want to be covered when it comes to making sure you have everything going in the right direction with your personal finance. It's the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Was shocked when Rocket Money found out two different apps, two different services my wife and I were both signed up for. Rocket Money said, you're wasting money right here. You're just giving money away. Why you want to do that over the course of the year, over the course of a couple of months? That, of course, adds up. Rocket Money helps you take control of your personal finance. Managing your finances can be overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. Rocket Money finds those hidden fees. So here's the offer. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on to help you take control of your personal finance. The automatic transaction characterization is a real game changer. I can finally see exactly where my money is going each and every month. You can set budgets, you can set goals, and personalize insights with Rocket Money. So go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on. One more time, rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Sacramento Kings coming to town tonight. Keith Pompey with 12 wins on the season, the second fewest win total in all the NBA, and that's who the Sixers are dealing with tonight. Injury-wise for your 10-9-8 76ers, Joel Embiid, Paul George listed as probable to this point. Quentin Grimes, questionable. Kelly Oubre, he's available for tonight's game. What are you making of this matchup tonight with the Sixers taking on the Kings?
I think the 76ers need to come ready to play. Like, on paper, we look at it and we'll say to ourselves, the 76ers should beat them, right? But we also said the same thing about the Denver Nuggets. We also said the same thing about the Charlotte Hornets, although Charlotte is playing well. But, when I look at a game like this, I think of trap games, right? And the reason why I'm saying this could be a trap game is because we know what's happening on Saturday. They're going to honor the 2001 team. So everyone's going to be excited about that one. When you're playing the Sacramento Kings team that not only has 12 wins, they lost 6 games in a row, right? And they look horrible in all of them. But, we have to admit that they do have some pretty good players. They got DeMar DeRozan, they have Zach LaVine, they have Domantas Sabonis. They have Russell Westbrook, so some of these guys are old in the tooth, but at the same time, they're players and they're desperate. Like, they're desperate to show that they can win a game. So my thing is, if the Sixers come out lollygagging and then, struggle a little bit and you let this team get confident, then all of a sudden it could be a rough night for the Sixers. So to me, it's like, on paper, they should destroy them. Everything is going in the Sixers' favor as far as this team yielding 3-pointers, this team lack of rebounding, all those things that happens. So the Sixers should be fine. But Sabonis is a player, man. I know he's coming off an injury and everything like that. DeMar DeRozan, he's really good at straight line drives. Same thing with Zach LaVine. And we know Russ, it brings a lot of energy. So my thing is, the Sixers, it's one of those things you can't take them lightly because they have the second worst record in the NBA and that they're on this massive skid. You got to come out ready to play. If not, you're going to lose the game.
Hell yeah. Tonight, Malik Monk questionable, still dealing with right ankle soreness. Russell Westbrook questionable, right foot soreness. So we'll see what their status is going to be at game time tonight. Yeah, I would like the notion really over the next 2 games, Keith, of the 76ers playing down to anybody, and they have back-to-back games here against 12-win opponents, one tonight, then one Saturday, as you mentioned, the 7:30 start time where they're honoring the 0-1 team. Mm-hmm. Hey, let's get rid of the play down to the opponent thing. Let's get rid of that. And then plus they're going to go on that 5-game road trip out on the West Coast where some people might not be staying up till 10 o'clock to watch the games. So before that, hey, let's put a good taste out there. Let's put a good vibe out there. And if you're the 76ers, I think that should be a mission. Because, look, when you're down 50 points to the Hornets, and you mentioned how well they had been playing with their full roster and all of that, fine, and the Sixers certainly didn't have a full roster, but that just it extends the theory of, yeah, this team will play down to opponents. They'll get caught off guard. They'll take a team too lightly, whatever it might be, and they're going to end up getting beat. And these games all count the same. It's not just about how you're playing, in March. It's also about how you're playing right now at the end of January, right into February. So I'd like for the Sixers to go out there tonight, play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and get some momentum before they go out there on the West Coast trip. Certainly for Joel Embiid to keep it going, like he's been having it go, and also Tyrese Maxey and the volume shooting and all that. More efficient scoring from him would be a great thing, and of course, it would be great to have another game of VJ Edgecombe just turning heads with some kind of 20-point performance, as well as still filling out the rest of that stat sheet. So let's get those good vibes going before the Sixers head into their West Coast swing. Keith Pompey, make sure you guys are reading them. Make sure you guys are following them, all social media platforms, also Inquirer.com, of course. For you Eagles fans, we got plenty to talk about with Locked On Eagles Squad show at noon today. Me, Louis DiBiase, as well as Jason Martinez and Harry Mays. We're breaking all things down when it comes to the Eagles and the latest on the offensive coordinator search and a possible demotion of Jeff Stoutland from a title that was bestowed upon him 2 years ago. We'll talk about that on Locked On Eagle Squad show later today. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers and follow Keith Pompey and me on all social media platforms. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Back with you guys tomorrow. See you then. Bye.